All right, so here's some considerations. I want you to think about this. And remember, my goal is to talk from 3 frameworks, right? I'm looking at this from a teacher framework, from an administrator framework, from a state level framework. I believe in measuring student success, but should we rethink counting the star this year? And let me just tell you some things that come to mind. When we created our accountability system, we created it in order to, based on a face-to-face model, or the kind of, we didn't create a grading system in a pandemic. And so the accountability being maintained at the same level during a pandemic can come across as concerning, right? And so one of the things that principal told me this week said, Tyrone, 60% of my kids are 9th graders that some have been pushed, the committee got together and moved them from the middle school. And we're going to do our best and we're going to roll up our sleeves and get it done. But wow, it hits me really hard, 60%. And another thing I think that happens is if we report it, so here's my thought process on this, is if we test, because I do think it's important to get the data, but if we share that data, it communicates something that's going to further increase the gap as it relates to what we already know exists. We know that the Black and Brown, who we've already identified, even in the early parts of the pandemic, compared to European Americans, 6% were non-engaged compared to over 30% of Black and Brown. So we know that this is only going to be a greater slide, right? Because you've got to control for the social economics of this. But if we were to look at the possibility of getting the data, but not reporting it out, because reporting it out is going to continue to create, adding the deficit views. And it could be viewed as unfair given the circumstances that people are in. Schools are having to shut down. Some students don't have Wi-Fi all the time. One principal told me that some of her children are, it's the only Wi-Fi in the house. So, it's Corona. So sometimes they want to watch Netflix and they only have so many minutes. So they're just dilemma after dilemma after dilemma. The kids are stressed, even the face-to-face kids, they're going back, they're feeling this anxiety. You can just see it. I can see it. I can feel it in my own kids sometimes, but at the same time, they're feeling socially disconnected, working virtually. And so you've got all of these pieces that are at work that are detrimental to the well-being. And then you've got this testing piece that we know is important. I'm all for making sure we're measuring and know where our students are, but I think this is also a unique kind of situation. So, and here's the thing, if we report the data, it would be interesting if we could say at a state level, is it a possibility to assign funding based on the data? So if we have let's say a HISD school that has a large percentage Title I kids, we see there's a greater gap, then we turn around and we say, okay, as a result of that gap, we're going to revisit how we assign funds. But I think the big thing is we've got to really consider this hard. All right.